Welcome everyone to Kever Rachel. My name is Yoni Glazer and I'll be giving you guys a special tour today of Kever Rachel and Beit Lechem. I'll be explaining to you guys about the meaning of Rachel, a little about the meaning and the importance of Kever Rachel to us, to Am Yisrael, a little about the meaning of Beit Lechem and the history of Beit Lechem. Am Yisrael have been coming here for years and years and years to daven for their loved ones. And we have to understand a little bit about the meaning of Kever Rachel when we come to Kever Rachel. Sometimes when we go to monumental places, we ask ourselves certain questions. Why is it so important? What's so special about this place? What's so special about Kever Rachel? Why do people come here to daven at Kever Rachel for their loved ones, for the ones that they love dearest? What do the tefillot do over here that you don't have in its other places? What's so special about this place? What does it mean to us? What can we receive from Kever Rachel in today's day and age? Hopefully some of those questions you'll be able to answer other people after this tour. So hang on, come with me, and enjoy the tour. As you can see, this is the famous tree, the famous olive tree that is in all the pictures of Kever Rachel. All the pictures that people have taken for years and years and people have drawn for years and years. This is the famous olive tree. And look in the back, you can also see the amount of people that come here. As we're going to be talking about after, people come here daily, thousands of people to daven by Kever Rachel. As you can see, we're by the famous olive tree by Kever Rachel. The famous olive tree, which is pretty much the trademark of Kever Rachel. To understand a little about the meaning and the importance of Kever Rachel, we have to look a little back into the past. What happened here? Look into the Tanakh, what people were here, and understand the characteristics of the people that were here, and try to connect between them and understand what the characteristics Kever Rachel gives. Just like we said before, with all these questions that we asked ourselves when we go to these historical and monumental places, we have a source for it. The Chesed L'Avram states that just like the Beit HaMikdash, each and every part of the Beit HaMikdash has its own characteristics and its own importance to Am Yisrael in order to get closer to Hashem. Same thing about Eretz Yisrael. In Eretz Yisrael, every single place in Eretz Yisrael, every single city has its own characteristic. Just like the Shemesei Shvatim, the 12 tribes were split up through Eretz Yisrael. Each shevet, each tribe had their own certain place, which helped them get closer to Hashem. The same thing today and nowadays, and each and every city has its own characteristic and it helps Am Yisrael, and it's important for Am Yisrael to get closer to Hashem. So we have to understand, what does Beit Lechem mean? What is the importance of Beit Lechem to Am Yisrael? What is the importance of Beit Lechem to us now? And obviously, Kever Rachel Imenu was buried here. Mama Rachel was buried here. So to understand that a little bit, we have to look into the people that were here. Rachel Imenu, as we all know, she was married to Yaakov Avinu. When Yaakov Avinu went down to Aram Naharaim, went down to Lavan, to look for a wife and to run away from Esav, he saw Rachel Imenu and he fell in love with her. Leah Imenu, Rachel's sister, always had sorrow in her eyes, always was full of tears. She was always crying because it was told that she would be married, she was the older one, and she would be married to Esav. And Rachel Imenu, who was the younger one, would be married to Yaakov Avinu, who was the younger one. And sure enough, when Rachel and Yaakov were planning to get married, Lavan had different plans. And he planned on switching Rachel and Leah during the chuppah, switching them in their wedding. Obviously, Yaakov Avinu wasn't stupid. He was smart, and he knew that something like this could happen. So he and Rachel Imenu had signs between them in order to pass them over one to the other if Lavan were to switch Leah and Rachel Imenu. But Rachel Imenu, because she was such a tzaddiket, because she was such a good person, and she was willing to do whatever she can in order to go in Hashem's ways, when Lavan switched Leah, her sister, and her in the wedding, she passed the signs to her sister, so her sister wouldn't be embarrassed. So her sister, even though she would be losing Rachel Imenu would be losing everything. She might not even be the mother of the children of Yaakov Avinu. She might not even be connected to Am Yisrael. And she would be passing over everything to Leah, her sister. But a moment of embarrassment wasn't worth it. Hashem doesn't want anybody to embarrass someone else, even for a moment, for your own personal gain. And therefore Leah was willing to sacrifice everything for her sister Leah. In addition to that, Rachel Imenu, when she had Yosef, her first son, she knew that she couldn't have many more children. So instead of quantity, she asked for quality. She asked for Hashem for a different son. Yosif li ben acher. A different son Hashem will give me. A different can be another son. A different can also mean a special son. Someone different, someone with more quality. And that's what she asked. She was hoping, even though I can have the quantity that Leah has, hopefully I can have the quality. And the quality will make up for it. And that's what she asked for Binyamin. When she came to Eretz Yisrael, when Yaakov Avinu brought the whole family to Eretz Yisrael, they went up to the Beit HaMikdash, and she was hoping that Binyamin, her special son, her last son, would be born there, by the Beit HaMikdash, the holiest place in the whole world. But Hashem had different plans. Lo machshavotay k'machshavotechem. My thoughts and my plans are not like your thoughts. And Hashem had different plans. And Hashem told them, even though they were ready for her to be buried, for Binyamin to be buried there, Hashem had different plans and sent them off. When they left Harabai, when they left the place of the Beit HaMikdash, they were on the way to Hebron. They thought Binyamin, their son, the special son, would be born Dafka in Hebron. Why Hebron? Because the Avot, our forefathers were in Hebron. And sure enough, on the way, all of a sudden, Rachel Imenu went into labor. She went into a difficult labor. On the way to Hebron, they weren't able to get there. As we stated before, Hashem tells us, "Lo machshavotay k'machshavotechem." My thoughts and my plans are not like your plans. And during this difficult labor, Rachel Imenu called her son Ben Oni. Ben Oni can mean a few different things. Can mean the son of my sorrow, the son of my pain, but it could also mean the son of my strength. Ben Oni could be like Ben Kochi. And Yaakov Avinu realized that and knows that, and called Binyamin Ben Yamin, the son of the right. The right is a symbol of the strength, and therefore he interpreted it to Ben Oni, as Ben, the son of my strength, Binyamin. And sure enough, Binyamin was really a different son. As the Ramban states, Hashem Dafka wanted him to be born here, be born in Bethlehem. Why Bethlehem? Because this would be the border between the tribe of Binyamin and the tribe of Yehuda. This needs to be the border between them. In order to understand a little bit of why Binyamin was so special, and why Dafka Binyamin had to be the son that was bordering Yehuda, we have to look into our history, the Tanakh, a little bit more. Shaul HaMelech, Shaul, when he was on his way to being a king, Shmuel told him, they have to do three things. One of the three things was to meet people that were leaving Kever Rachel at the time. You have to meet people that were dafka leaving Kever Rachel, the place of Rachel's burial. Why is that so important? Well, when you're going to be king, one of the things you have to be able to do is to be able to connect. As we know, Rachel Imenu wasn't just one that was willing to sacrifice for Hashem, she was also willing to connect. We know Rachel Imenu as Rachel mevakal banea. She was crying for her children. Why would a mother cry for her children? A mother cries for her children because she cares. It's so important to her. It's so meaningful to her how her children will be. And when we understand that, when we understand the love of a mother, obviously when one comes to be king, he has to love the people as a mother. He has to care about them. He has to feel for them and want them to bring them up and make them better and make them closer to Hashem. And so too, Shaul HaMelech, before he came to be king, he had to meet people that were dafka leaving Kever Rachel. He had to get those characteristics of loving the entire people, loving the people of Am Yisrael, in order to become king and connect everybody as a king. Same thing for David HaMelech. Where was David HaMelech born? David HaMelech was born here in Bethlehem. Dafka here he was born. His father Yishai was here, his grandfather Boaz was here, and his grandmother Ruth. They were dafka here in Bethlehem, and from here he was able to take the characteristics of Bethlehem, of Rachel Imenu, the sacrifice, the ability to sacrifice, and the ability to love the entire people of Am Yisrael, and take that in order to become king. David HaMelech, as we know, also when he was called up to the task, he performed. When Goliath was terrorizing Am Yisrael, and the entire army of Shaul HaMelech didn't know what to do with him. They were being killed by him. Goliath was a giant. They didn't know how to fight him. David HaMelech didn't understand what was going on. How can this be? How can a giant be terrorizing Am Yisrael? How can he be disgracing the name of Hashem? How can he be doing the Chilul Hashem? And sure enough, when he went up to Goliath, he took the armor and he went up to Goliath, even though he wasn't a soldier. He went up to Goliath and said, "I'm coming in the name of Hashem and I'll take you down. I'll kill you in the name of Hashem." And sure enough, he took out Goliath and killed him in the name of Hashem. He was willing to sacrifice himself for the name of Hashem. And after that, nobody understood. Where did he get this courage from? Where did he get this from? How can you be such a person that you don't even fight as a soldier, and sure enough you come in and take the biggest giant out, the biggest person here that was terrorizing all the soldiers of Am Yisrael? Where did he get this from? Shaul asked, who is this person? Even though he knew David HaMelech from before. He knew David from before. David played music for him, as we know. And David HaMelech said, Ani David ben Avdecha Yishai, I'm the son of your servant Yishai, Bet Alachmi. Bet Alachmi from Beit Lechem. I'm David HaMelech, the son of Yishai, from Beit Lechem. I took this from Beit Lechem. The willingness to sacrifice myself and the love of the people gave me the courage in order to fight Goliath. From where I came from, I was able to get the courage to fight Goliath. So a few of the things we learned today, the meaning of Beit Lechem and Kever Rachel to us is the ability to sacrifice. Am Yisrael, just like now and for years in the past and for years to come, we need to be able to sacrifice ourselves for Hashem, for the will of Hashem. Even if something that we're going to be losing our own personal gain, we have to be willing to sacrifice it for Hashem. And also, today's day and age, there are a lot of arguments. A lot of people have different views. And sure enough, in order to bring the Mashiach, we have to connect. We have to have someone that is willing to love everybody and want good for everybody in order to be able to connect the entire Am. Just like Shaul HaMelech needed it, same thing as David HaMelech needed it in order to become king. The same thing for Melech HaMashiach, the king of the Mashiach. When he comes, he will need to also be able to connect the entire people. As we can see, Kever Rachel has changed over the years. We all know the picture that everybody knows with the olive tree that we showed before and spoke a little about. But before that, there was a structure with 4 different pillars on the bottom. After that, Moshe Montefiore came and renovated it and made it to 2 different rooms. After that, in 2002, because of the Oslo Accords, which we're going to be talking about in the future, Kever Rachel was renovated and to protect the people that came here to daven, protect the people that wanted to daven for their dearest, but it was dangerous at the time. They took a bus into this area, a bulletproof bus, and ran into the kever, into the structure that was renovated in order to protect them. After that, in 2005, there were walls, as you can see, that were also put up. The walls were in order to protect the Am Yisrael that was coming here to daven for those loved ones that we always speak about. And the walls were here to protect them from shooting, from bombs, in order to keep them safe so that Am Yisrael can continue to daven by Kever Rachel. As we stated before, Am Yisrael have been coming here to Kever Rachel, to Mama Rachel, and davening for years and years and years. They've been coming from all over the world and coming here to Kever Rachel to daven for their loved ones, for their dearest. By Kever Rachel going to the Kotel until 1948, when the war broke out. Am Yisrael lost Kever Rachel to the Jordanians. The Jordanians took over Kever Rachel, and Am Yisrael couldn't come here anymore to daven. Whoever wanted to come here wasn't able to anymore. Until 1967. 1967, with the help of Rabbi Goren, who was the chief rabbi of the army at the time, Am Yisrael redeemed Kever Rachel. Am Yisrael was able to bring back Kever Rachel, Mama Rachel, in order for the Jews to come back and daven. They were able to finally come back to Kever Rachel after years and daven for their loved ones again. From 1967, everything was fine. Till around 1990, whoever wanted to come was able to come. They were able to take a bus, whatever bus they wanted, and come to Kever Rachel and daven. From 1967 till 1990, till around 1990, Am Yisrael would be coming to Kever Rachel on whatever bus they wanted to, and come and daven. Yes, here and there were certain problems with security problems. But in general, Am Yisrael was able to daven here. They were able to walk around Beit Lechem, go to the stores, buy whatever they wanted, and come back home safely. In around 1990, when the Oslo Accord started, it started getting dangerous again. The Arabs started rioting again. And it wasn't so easy anymore to come to Kever Rachel. They were shooting sometimes. The army was placed all around Kever Rachel in order to protect the Jews that came here to daven. Luckily, Rabbi Chanan Porat, who was part of the government at the time, understood that this is crazy. How can we give over Kever Rachel? How can we do this to Am Yisrael? Am Yisrael have been coming here for daven for years and years, and this is our time. We're in the present right now. How can we be at fault for giving Kever Rachel over to the Arabs? While Harav Chanan Porat was waiting outside of Yitzchak Rabin's office, the prime minister at the time, Harav Menachem Porush saw him and asked him, "What are you doing here?" Harav Chanan Porat said, "I'm waiting here to redeem Kever Rachel. I'm going in to talk to Yitzchak Rabin and redeem Kever Rachel. Bring her back to the Jews so the Jews can come back and daven at Mama Rachel." Harav Menachem Porush asked, "Can I join?" Harav Menachem Porush was also in the government at the time. And he said, "Can I join?" He said, "Yeah, sure. The two are always better than one." And sure enough, they went in together. When they went in, Harav Chanan Porat went in and showed him the maps. It showed Yitzchak Rabin, the prime minister at the time, the maps of Kever Rachel and Yerushalayim. Showed him, listen, Kever Rachel is 500 meters from Yerushalayim. We can easily bring it back. It's so important to Am Yisrael to daven by Kever Rachel. How can you give it over? It's so easy to bring it back. It's 500 meters out of the territory of Yerushalayim, which is part of Israel. We can easily change the plans and bring it back." And Yitzchak Rabin said, "Okay, I'll think about it. We'll talk about it." All of a sudden, Rav Menachem Porush broke out in tears. He said, "Mama Rachel, how can you give it out? How can you give up Mama Rachel? How can you pass it over?" He was in tears and tears. He couldn't stop himself. He was crying and crying. Yitzchak Rabin started getting nervous. Rav Menachem Porush wasn't so young at the time. Yitzchak Rabin started getting nervous. He said, "Sit down, Menachem, sit down. Everything's okay." He said, "No, I can't. Mama Rachel, how can you give over Mama Rachel?" And his tears wet Yitzchak Rabin's suit. And he couldn't take it anymore. He said, "How can you give over Mama Rachel?" He was tearing and tearing. And then Yitzchak Rabin said, "Okay, let me look at it again. I'll give you an answer back soon." Sure enough, Yitzchak Rabin, the prime minister at the time, called Shimon Peres and asked Shimon Peres, spoke to him, told him where Kever Rachel is, and told him, "Listen, it's so close. We can easily bring it back. We can call Yasser Arafat and bring back Kever Rachel and change the plans." And Shimon Peres went over to his driver after and said, "Take me to Kever Rachel. I want to see how far it is from here." And they went to Kever Rachel. They drove to Kever Rachel. All of a sudden, the driver goes up to Shimon Peres and says, "We got here." And Shimon Peres said, "What do you mean we got here? We just left Yerushalayim. We just left Jerusalem." He said, "No, we're here." He said, "Wait a minute, go back." They went back, and they went back to Yerushalayim. After Yerushalayim, they went back to Kever Rachel, and he saw it wasn't that far. It's a 5-minute drive from Yerushalayim. He called Yitzchak Rabin, told him, "No problem. Kever Rachel is out of the deal. We're bringing Kever Rachel back." As we stated before, we're really lucky that Rav Chanan Porat understood the importance of this place, understood the importance of Kever Rachel and Beit Lechem. And he knew that even though he was able to bring back Kever Rachel and Am Yisrael would still be able to go and daven by Kever Rachel, Am Yisrael still wouldn't be able to utilize the importance of Kever Rachel and Beit Lechem completely just by coming here and davening here. We weren't able to live here. We weren't able to build up the place if we didn't have a property here that people can live here. And therefore, he looked for a place to buy. He looked for a property that he would be able to build up and branch out in order for people to really absorb the characteristics and the importance of this place. Therefore, like I said, he looked for a buyer. And sure enough, there was a person willing to sell their property right next to Kever Rachel. And that person wanted to make money out of it. He knew that this was really important to Am Yisrael, and he was looking to make a lot of money. So Rav Chanan Porat and Rav Beni Alon, they both looked for someone that would be willing to help them purchase this property. And they found someone that was interested in purchasing the property. But that person was really worried. He didn't know what to do. He was afraid that something might happen. It was the time of the Oslo Accords. He didn't know if it would be given over to the Arabs. He didn't know what would happen to it, if he would be able to use it, if people were able to live there. So he was really hesitant to purchase this property. He asked his cousin to schedule a meeting with Rav Mordechai Eliyahu. And sure enough, he did. he met with Rav Mordechai, this person, and this person put up a bunch of maps and brought all the plans and showed Rav Mordechai and told him about the property in order to see what he says, if it's a good plan or bad plan in order to purchase the property. Rav Mordechai stopped him and said, "What's your name?" He said, "Benny." He said, "What Benny? What does Benny mean?" He said, "Benny. Benny ben Rachel." He said, "Benny ben Rachel? What Benny ben Rachel?" He said, "Binyamin ben Rachel." He said, "Binyamin ben Rachel will come and redeem his mother, Rachel Himenu." And sure enough, Benny ben Rachel understood that he had to purchase this property. Harav Chanan Porat understood that it needed to be a yeshiva. And sure enough, he built the yeshiva. He established a yeshiva with the Rosh Yeshiva that he placed, Harav Eli El-Kaslasi. Harav Eli El-Kaslasi, they tried year by year, but it was difficult because of security reasons. And sure enough, little by little, kima, with Hashem's help, they were able to establish the yeshiva and start flourishing. The community has 11 families and 20 kids, and little by little we're growing. There's a yeshiva over here, there are families, and little by little we're using, just like we said before, the importance of this place, some of the meanings of this place, or the meaning of this place, in order to help us continue living and help Am Yisrael continue. And B'ezrat Hashem will we continue to grow this community, and Am Yisrael will continue to come here to daven and utilize the meaning of this place and pass it on. Hopefully you guys will be able to come and daven here soon. Even though you guys are watching this video, hopefully you guys will be able to come daven here soon and understand the characteristics of Rachel Imenu and David HaMelech. When you come to daven and to visit, you're able to understand that the things that they went through in their lives, the sacrifice for Hashem, the willingness to love Am Yisrael and hope for the best for them. And when understanding that, you'll be able to continue helping Am Yisrael. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Take care.